one of the big takeaways I think that we're trying to leave you with today is that construction is changing. As much as hammers still have to hit nails and excavators still dig holes, the reality is technology is a big part of what we do. We know where to put our walls because of 3D models. Sensors keep us from digging to a wrong depth, or making contact with wires and other hazards. So there's a safety aspect of that as well. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. We've got new methods, new product options, and yes, new technologies. And to explore some of the new project delivery models, building processes, products, tech, I'd like to ask you to join me in welcoming a panel of four of our 40 Under 40 alumni who can share their experiences. Dan Boxtel is a member of the fourth generation of family leadership at Boxtel Construction, where he has experienced all sides of the company, from field labor to site supervision, office admin to project management, pre-construction, and the development and the use of new technologies and processes. And that includes building information modeling. He and his brother Nick earned their place in the 40 Under 40 in Canadian construction in 2020. Jeff Murphy is a vice president and district manager in PCL's Vancouver Buildings and Civil Office. His mobility throughout Canada over the past 20 years has allowed him many opportunities to work with construction partners to achieve their visions of success. His wealth of knowledge gained in different markets, delivery methods, and project types has ensured successful support of all projects of any size and scope for PCL's clients. Jeff joined the ranks of the 40 Under 40 in Canadian construction in 2020 as well. And Andrew Neal is the founder and president and CEO of ANC Group of Companies, which began as a general contracting and construction management firm focused on custom homes before expanding in the ICI sector. Also modular building, development, and most recently 3PL logistics. Andrew's groundbreaking contributions and innovative thinking have transformed construction methodologies and led to the development of revolutionary solutions. He was recognized as part of the 2022 class of our 40 Under 40 in Canadian construction honorees. And last but definitely not least is Jesse Unke. He's the president and CEO of Maven Consulting Limited, an engineering and construction executive with over 20 years of experience and an experienced mentor and volunteer. Unke was recognized in the inaugural class of our 40 Under 40 in Canadian construction program in 2020. With a strategic approach and passion for the industry, Unke leads his company with a commitment to excellence and a vision for the future of construction. So thank you, all of you, for joining us today. And I think we're just going to dive straight in. Let's get some questions going and some discussion going. I'd like to start by going across the panel and just get a really brief comment about what you feel has been the biggest or most important change in the construction industry, say over the past 10 years or so. That's not a hard fixed number. If you want to go a little above or below it, no problem. And there's no right or wrong answer, but go with short answers, because we're going to be diving into this over the next, say, 40 minutes or so in a little bit more detail. But I'm interested to hear if there's a particular process, technology, tool, something that's been a game changer. And don't just give us a one-word answer like technology. Dive a little bit deeper in, if you don't mind. So Dan, let's start up with, I'll go around the horn starting with you.
Sure. I think, yeah, for me, there's a lot happening right now, and it's kind of that confluence of it. I think that's really generating change. I think, Hamad touched a little bit on that generational shift that's happening, and I think that's been one of the biggest things for myself. I mean, we're a family business. I grew up in the construction industry. First job was probably 25 years ago, and I know at least say 15 years ago in our office it was largely 45 to 65-year-old men, and a lot of that has really transitioned, where we've really become a young company, kind of dominated by probably 30 to 45-year-old people in the office. There's a lot of talk about that sort of generational shift in the trades, but I think it's actually happening in a big way in a lot of offices at different companies. Whether it was timing issues, I think there were sort of downturns, late 80s, 90s, where there was sort of this gap where there's kind of a larger shift happening now to younger people. So it's kind of moved away from that, that sort of old way of doing things into this sort of more open, I would say, diverse profession. I think it's attracting different people. It's attracting more professionals to the industry. I through that, it's also creating, what I've seen a big change in, when it comes to construction management and working with clients is actually sort of that elevation of the contractor and sort of that early involvement aspect to it, where when I first started out, say, 13, 14 years ago in pre-construction projects, we were really just working with the architect and kind of under them and take that direction, where now we're sort of seen as that more of that equal partner and, working directly with owners and really kind of breaking down those silos and working in a much more collaborative way. There's probably a lot we can dig into on that, but maybe I'll leave off there for now.
Awesome. Thank you. Jeff, same question. What's kind of caught your eye on the changes in the last decade?
Yeah, so thanks, Adam, and thanks for, first off, the opportunity to be up here and sit up here with a great group of peers and alumni in the 40 under 40. And I know you said don't just mention technology, that's an easy button, but I'll maybe just start a little preamble. It's very hard to ignore when I think about it, just how much has changed in the industry in regards to this very broad topic over even just the last decade, where I'd argue we've grown more in the last 10 years than arguably the last 100. So the impact of the broad term of technology has been very significant in construction. And that pace of change over the last 5 years to half decade of that has been remarkable. And then that pace of adoption and adaptation, I'll call it, to overcome those. We heard some of the barriers that Hamad was mentioning, it and bridging the gap to a broader audience. So it's because it's not really just the tech departments or specialists anymore, but it's that work face that's utilizing the technology. Now, the cool thing here and the connection to the adoption of technology that will answer your question a little more specifically, Adam, is a game changer to me. It's really fostered the biggest game changer that I've seen over the last decade, and that's, Dan had touched on it right at the end, this amount of collaboration that exists. So to me, it's changed almost everything: processes, technology, tools, structures, arrangements. They've all changed pretty dramatically with a common theme of increased collaboration. So what I mean by that is a lot more opportunities for us to be more collaborative and cross-pollinate with our partners, our clients, our consultants, our trade contractors. There's so many options available to increase the effectiveness of that collaboration, whether it be things like shared cloud-based sites or programs, use of tablets at the workface, or even, we're all here today, the use of virtual meetings. They've all given us opportunities to be more efficient with easier ways to access latest information, to collaborate in more timely and effective ways. And that kind of collaboration piece is really what I've seen change quite dramatically in my last 10 years.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. The challenge of trying to get everybody into a room nowadays is it's we can still do it, but it's a lot faster and more efficient, as you said, to hop online. Andrew, what are your thoughts? What's kind of been top of mind in presence for you over the last, say, 10 years?
Yeah, thanks, Adam. So I think I'd probably second Dan. I know Hamad had mentioned this times, but lack of skilled labor and quite honestly, the lack of willingness for people to work hard, right? As far as like you're talking about, older people are retiring and the younger groups coming in, it's really hard to find young people who actually want to, tie up their boots and work hard, right? So that's a big part of it. The lack of those people, I know there's a lot of other opportunities in technology right now, so they're taking other jobs and not necessarily the skilled trades. I'd say that's one of the biggest ones that I've found. It's just trying to find people who want to work, right? Like a lot of people just want to sit behind a computer screen right now. As far as technology is advancing, we still need people out there with a hammer and hard to building, right? And then I think permits and delays and bureaucracy is killer, right? So everybody who's gone through the permitting and site plan phase, just the bureaucracy that goes through trying to actually get a permit to build something, understands the frustrations, the costs and the delays that all will cost. So I think those are my two major things. And a couple other questions here, I think I'll probably expand on that.
Awesome. Thank you. And Jesse, your thoughts on you got more than just the past 10 years under your belt. What have you seen in the past 5 to 10?
Yeah, you saying I'm old?
Hey, if I'm saying you're old, I'm in big trouble, man.
Well, I just wanted to thank you for having me on this panel as well. It's great to be be with this group here. It's and to share information like this. I would say that, you know, I can speak to any of the questions that we have from like a consulting standpoint. Like Maven's a project delivery consultant in the construction and engineering space, and I would say that, you know, there's a big focus. Obviously, we're going to talk about technology, AI. We use AI on a lot of our projects and what we do. I would say that focus on sustainability, and that's not only on construction materials, which I think we're going to touch on a little bit, but, you know, fit for use infrastructure as well for the communities that we're servicing, as well as, you know, on the soft skills side. Like, I think there's programs like the Builders Code, for example, that's out there now that enables us to have a more welcoming environment for women in construction and other folks that maybe were a little bit intimidated by construction before. I think Dan touched on, you know, those kind of older men that were dominating the industry now, and now you look around, it is definitely a younger industry on the consulting side as well, and we've got a lot of women that are in construction and engineering as well, which is great. And so it's a lot more of a diverse, younger, and I don't want to say sharper, but more innovative, I feel like, from when I first started, geez, you know, 18, 20 years ago now. So there's a lot there. I could go on and on, but I think you're going to touch on some good points as we continue the discussion.
Awesome, thank you. And yeah, I won't comment about how long I've been writing for these sectors, because I think I predate most of the people on the panel, which I don't feel that way most of the time, thankfully. So when I think about large projects, because again, with on-site, that's typically what we're looking at. You know, P3 comes to mind as one of the more talked about project delivery models used in Canada. It's been around for a while, and even that model, it's undergoing an evolution, and that evolution is tied to other models as well, and it all ties into collaboration and project delivery models in general. Can we get a little some comments about why there's so much interest in more collaborative arrangements? Is it just simply sharing of risk? What are some of the additional benefits that come from these new evolving ways of how projects are managed and delivered? And I think for this one, I'll turn to Dan first, if that's all right.
Yeah, sure. I think, I mean, yeah, collaborative construction, we're typically talking, you know, there's been sort of our market is the prairies. I would say, you know, P3s haven't had big headway here, but there really has been strong uptake in construction management, getting into sectors where it wasn't before, you know, larger public infrastructure projects and things like that. It's what we focused on as a company. It's actually about probably 90% of the projects that we do are focused in construction management. So I think throughout my career, I've been through about close to 200, over 200 of these now. And, you know, there's sort of those aspects of risk and that kind of thing. But I think the main point is that when it's done correctly, there's really that opportunity for value obtained through the collaboration. So, you know, every project, every funding program, all those different things, they all have different risk tolerances. And, you know, what I would even say in some cases, we actually take on more risk in these when, you know, an owner has a really low risk tolerance, but it's really the opportunity to have that dialogue around risk and shape a project according to each individual client's needs. So it's really about being able to customize a project is what I say it gives you. And, you know, outside of that risk discussion, there's kind of this whole host of benefits that can be brought to the table from, you know, a strong construction manager or construction partner in that early stage. Like optimization is a huge thing. You know, there's that stat and sort of the curve, I think Hamad showed there, the McLeamy curve, about sort of your ability to influence project costs. And I think there's another stat out there that's something like 70% of costs are typically defined by the end of schematic design, because it's things like massing, you know, your mechanical system, your structure type, all of that. Like those selections lock in so much of your cost. And as soon as you go past schematic design, it becomes really costly or cumbersome to change those. So when you get someone at the table that can really evaluate those options and figure out which one is the best fit for that specific project, there's a lot of value there. There's also target value delivery approach that, you know, we institute on our projects, where it's that sort of cap funding scenario. We've got X dollars, and you know, as the CM, your role is really to make sure to kind of guide that design process to stay within those budget guardrails and really, you know, design to budget instead of that sort of old kind of flip back over the fence. I think, you know, the first couple of years myself doing construction management, I'm pretty sure every single project was kind of the same thing. It'd be a Class C budget, we'd be over budget, we'd do a bunch of scope cutting, there'd be some redesign, you do the Class B, everything would look good, and then a bunch of stuff would get added back again, sort of as you went to construction documents, and then you're doing a post-tender addendum and trying to get this thing back on budget, and instead of just trying to, you know, really have those open discussions and advance those decisions and make sure you're getting to the right spot right off the bat. So, you know, yeah, optimization, but then things like constructability reviews, you know, or procurement. Obviously, lead times were a huge issue, exacerbated during the pandemic, and that kind of, I think that really, the pandemic put a lot more focus on procurement and early ordering. We had a lot more clients, you know, willing to place orders specifically for things like, you know, distribution or light fixtures and those types of things, you know, like a year ahead before, you know, say the rest of the project was ready to be tendered, because those were the lead times we're dealing with. So there's these different ways to add value that really improve outcomes down the road, you know, whether it's improving schedules or, you know, reducing the RFIs and changes that happen during construction. So it's really, those are the benefits of collaborative delivery. And, you know, when those, whatever contract type you're using, as long as you got the right people at the table to do those things, it's producing better outcomes. And I think clients are coming back to that once they see those results.
Awesome, thank you. And Jesse, any thoughts on the collaborative aspect that's increasing?
Yeah, yeah, no, I think Dan made some great points. I would say that you know, from the consulting side, you know, using the right model for the right project, and you can do that through options and procurement options analysis, some market testing, and then organizational readiness is a big one, I think, as well. You know, if you're going to take on a collaborative delivery model, I think it's important that as an owner that you've got experience on your side, as a contractor, you've got experience on your side as well, and then as a consultant as well, that we're familiar with you know, what are the advantages of the particular model that you're using, and what's important when it comes to what the client's trying to get done as well, and keep things on schedule and on budget, and then where's the best ownership of risk. And I think when you have a pain share, gain share type situation, that I've seen that work really well on some projects and not so well on other projects, right? So I think really having the right model for the right project is important. And then I would say having team members that have experience in executing these contracts all around the table as well is important, and can lead to better outcomes on projects.
Awesome, thank you. Anyone else before I hop into the next question on our list? Are we good? I think, yeah, perfect. So collaboration, definitely some benefits there. Efficiency, I love the word efficiency. It's what we should be doing. But it's you know, collaboration is not the only path that holds potential to save a bit of time and money when it comes to projects. So Andrew, can you talk to us a bit about offsite construction? Like, modular construction is not necessarily new, but it seems to be something that that's current in construction and getting a lot of attention. So give us a bit of history, or outline some of the reasons why GCs might look to work in prefabricated components, assemblies, whatnot into their projects.
Yep. Can you hear me better now? Sorry, I got some notes that my last version didn't come out very well. Yeah, it's better now. Okay. So yeah, so my big thing is speed, and as you said, is efficiencies, right? So so we build volumetric modular structures. That's our core company, right? So we're prefabbing typically affordable housing, apartment buildings, or anything that kind of in a, call it like a Lego fashion, anything you can build multiple blocks and stack them together to build buildings, right? So the big thing with us is we're a CSA certified manufacturer, so we don't need a building permit to be able to start building. So we've had multiple projects where we've actually started building up to a year before the building permit's been issued. In some circumstances on large jobs where you've got you know, heavy site services and underground parking and you know, large foundations that could take, you know, 12 to 24 months just to do that. We're in the background in a factory here prefabricating as much as possible, right? You know, just a quick example, we put up a 4-story affordable housing project in downtown Toronto a couple of months ago, and we went right from the foundations to the point where they were ready to start roofing in 5.5 days, right? So it's a very, very quick process with a lot of planning up front. So the building efficiencies is huge. We've all talked about skilled labor is an issue. So, putting things into a controlled facility where you've got, simplified versions of building things. So whether that be, putting things in jigs or in templates, and so you're able to construct the same, wall or panel or something like that with using less skilled labor. You don't need to have a fifth year or a licensed carpenter be building something. It could be a first year somebody who doesn't have the experience but can still build the same type of thing just in the scenario they're put in, and they have the right tools to succeed, right? Obviously, building inside is huge for weather delays, quality control, weather-related costs, right? Especially in February. Obviously, everybody who's here in Canada knows that there's a lot of extra work and extra cost, and really grueling times when it comes into site construction. So pulling a lot of that work and doing it off-site in a controlled facility obviously has so many different benefits, right? Quality control, as I mentioned, is huge, and purchasing and long lead time control too, right? So when we start a job, we're just about to start one right now, where the very first thing you're going to order your windows, right? Ship the windows to the plant so that when you're ready for those windows, you just go grab a forklift to go get your windows and you put them in, right? So there's a lot of efficiencies there with the offsite and the prefabrication part of it. Again, my biggest thing with offsite construction is you can pre-build it before the site's ready for you, whether that be those underground foundations, the underground parking garages, whether that be a building permit or environmental cleanup or something. We're building potentially a year or two in advance. We've actually looked at a few jobs where we would have to be prefabricating everything for 2 years before the site is actually ready for us. But once that site is ready, we can put it up, in 90% more efficiently, very, very, very quickly. So that's my biggest thing on prefab, and that's not just modular or volumetric modular to say. I mean, I think that's the best way because it's panelized, precast, and all those things are great. But a volumetric modular unit will come with every finish, all your drywall, even furniture in them potentially, right? We've done projects where we've actually have the beds and the chairs and the desks in the units in our factory, and we'll ship them to the site and put it in place with a crane, right? Like it just doesn't get any more efficient than that.
Yeah, it's amazing to see. I actually drove by one just by total fluke. I think they were building a new hotel while I was driving to one of the airports not too long ago, and it was impressive to see these units just being placed in by a crane. So
like
very interesting.
Hotel's a perfect example where it's very repetitive work, right? You can take that and take it into a manufactured setting, right? I mean, look at what Ford did with the car. It's everybody knows that story. It's putting it into more like an assembly line, right? It's very, very efficient. You can have the right tools, obviously in a climate controlled facility. So anything with repetition. So obviously, apartment buildings, affordable housing is always a good one. Hotels, things like that, where it's very repeatable. You can standardize things, standardize details, standardize practices. One of the other things I'll mention too is a lot of our typical details. They're very typical every job. So we've got those, we've got them approved. We've got them approved by the code consultants. We know they meet the Ontario Building Code, all those things. So even the design phase becomes a lot more efficient because we can really copy and paste from a lot of different projects. We're not reinventing the wheel, so to speak. Obviously, every project has some differences, but the design phase is very quick and efficient, and then you can get those permits in and get that stuff approved quicker, just in efficiency and design as well.
Thank you. Thanks. Any thoughts from other panelists? Anybody with some experience incorporating some of the offsite construction components into their builds? Like Jeff, have you done anything at PCL?
Yeah, maybe I'll build off where Andrew was taking us, Adam, and totally understand the theory. Modular construction makes a ton of sense. Everything Andrew said: better quality control, improved productivities, better safety, working from heights, uncontrolled open environments, avoiding all that and reducing waste. The challenge that often comes into place, and I think we were just scratching the surface on the need for repetitive elements. So we find ourselves so often in a bespoke or unique project requirement. So finding those economies of scale that exist in other manufacturing industries or other sectors can be difficult. However, we do find ways. And I would say it doesn't need to be all or nothing. It's not, there's plenty of opportunities to, I'll call it little m modular on projects where prefabricated components can be utilized to improve the construction on site and really tap into all those benefits we've been talking about that are available. Looking at things like prefabricated shafts or wall assemblies or washroom pods, all of these can be done off-site or in a controlled environment and then incorporated into the overall construction planning. My insight, my comment, I don't think it needs to be a zero-sum game, and we can continue and need to continue to look and challenge ourselves for those opportunities to look where it can't be the full volumetric modular, as Andrew had mentioned, that there's modular components that can still reap the benefits that we've been talking about.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, I guess that's where my history comes in. Of I spent a lot of time in the mechanical side and seeing some of the things that can be done when one floor plan to the next in a building is that's where you find the repetitive nature from a say from the washrooms and stuff like that. So yeah, it's lots of opportunity. Going away from the modular side of things, let's talk a little bit about the materials side. You know, carbon's kind of the bad word nowadays. So there are new materials coming in. I was on a mass timber site not too long ago. There's low carbon concrete that we're looking at. We're trying to reduce the environmental footprint of the structures in that our industry builds. So is there a bit of a learning curve when it comes to working with materials like this that are new? And where's the industry at with some of this? So Andrew, I think I'll toss the microphone over to you if that's all right.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, a couple of things you mentioned. Obviously, I don't have a lot of experience with mass timber. In the modular space we're in, our biggest competition is kind of the wood modular builders or the stick frame builders, I guess. Just because wood seems to be cheaper. This is my opinion, and I'm sorry if this offends anybody, but we do steel and lightweight concrete modulars. So I'm not really a big wood fan when it comes to sustainability, and the reason behind that is when we order our steel, we have guarantees from our suppliers that it's all 97% recycled steel at minimum. So you know, I know there's a place for wood. However, you know, cutting down forests to try and find a more sustainable material, I don't know is necessarily right. Again, that's just my opinion, and I'm sure I'll get a lot of backlash on that. But low carbon concrete, we've just recently switched our entire plant to low carbon concrete. So we pretty much said that we will not pour regular concrete here anymore. We've got a really good deal from our concrete supplier, Heidelberg Materials, where we do bronze low carbon concrete at minimum for every cubic meter of concrete that's poured in this plant. So that's something that we've just taken on probably about 6 months ago. The concrete itself, for our purpose anyways, it performs the same. It's that sustainability part of it. We did do some for some foundations and things, and the concrete contractor kind of said, yeah, it was slow to set up, but then when it started to take off, it took off quick, right? So there's still some learning curves, I think, depending on what application you're doing it. When we're doing flat work, taking off quicker is not a bad thing, just because the guys can finish quicker. And then, yeah, just being the steel, the recycled materials, especially in the offsite industry, like we talked about, less waste and things like that. We've got separate drywall bins out here where the drywall actually goes out to a special company that recycles, that reuses the drywall rather than going into a landfill. So I think just a lot of practices like that are key.
Awesome, thank you. And I guess any other kind of experiences working with or targeting the smaller environmental footprint that I think everybody's chasing right now. Jesse, any thoughts on like decarbonizing the industry?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, something I see a lot of in the linear infrastructure area that I work in is use of programs like Envision, the Envision Sustainability Framework, which looks at reusing and reducing materials, innovative ways to design structures and utilities that our clients are looking to build. And I think, other things like green roads, and there's other programs as well that look at, again, at linear infrastructure, transportation related projects where there's ways to utilize some innovative techniques and materials in the sustainable materials area, but also being able to have a project that is certified in Envision or certified in Green Roads as well is important to some of our clients, and it kind of shows what their commitment has been and what's been done on the project to really serve as a lesson learned moving forward for other projects and other owners in the infrastructure space. So I would say that's what I see in the world that I work in.
Awesome, thank you. And again, the microphones are always open here, so if anybody wants to add in any comments, I don't mind throw the hand up or whatever. But we'll keep the discussion rolling. I think the elephant in the room, and Jeff, you talked about it a little bit about the technology side of things. You know, what are some of the technologies you find absolutely amazing that your company has been using on its projects? You know, is it drones, lasers? What are your favorite apps or technology-based tools that you use, or maybe would like to be using on your sites? So Jeff, you talked to this a little bit in the intro, so I'll let you take the first stab at this.
Yeah, I'll kick us off here, Adam, and definitely build off where I was going in the intro here. And for me, what amazes me, excites me, what I'm passionate about in terms of technology is those tools that can help make us better builders. So it can be everything from new technology to do something completely new technology to increase our productivity, or something to increase our tracking and monitoring abilities. So when I look at it through that lens, I'm drawn to the suite of products we built at PCL, where we've been able to leverage, over 117 years of intellectual property that we can directly apply to our program development in-house, and where we have the opportunity to easily build a feedback loop to continually improve that in the spirit of making us better builders. So whether it's our project management software, PM4 Plus, our estimating program, Best Estimating, or Job Site Insights, or JSI. JSI is a cloud-based platform that can monitor trends on projects through sensors, things like temperature, water, vibration, sound, all in real time and accessible for our project teams. And on the backs of this platform, we've even got a program called Job Site Access, or JSA, a field-based smart construction solution that really helps secure and control access to our sites, keeps accurate live worker data, making it easier to monitor reports, again, in real time. And then one other item in the same vein of JSI, JSA, JSR, or Job Site Resourcing. So this is a program designed to help our projects plan for shared use of resources, logistics, deliveries, material movement. Saw Hamad present a bunch on that, on how to make digitizing some of this to make it effective at the site level, and really to drive overall site effectiveness in the field. You mentioned drones. I'll maybe have a few anecdotal comments. What amazes me the most about the drones, I can remember first seeing them and thinking they were toys, Now, majority of our major projects have them. We're using them from everything from site topography to measuring excavations to scanning panels on solar farms to, of course, taking high-res photos and infrared scanning. Lots of growth in that, and it's kind of a great analogy for other technologies that what appears on the surface is not valuable. It takes some time to really establish the breadth of what that can cover. But maybe I'll end with just this concept that I think there's lots out there. We heard the trillions of dollars and millions of investments. It can be overwhelming, the amount of technology available or coming to market. And what I advocate for is really that adding value, challenging ourselves that the technology is going to improve how we build and deliver our service to our clients and our partners to make the project delivery as effective and efficient as it can be. Maybe I'll pass it on from there.
Awesome, thank you. I'm trying to think here. Dan, any chance you've got something that's kind of been really cool in your world, or could be cool in your world, that you got your eyes on?
Yeah, I think there's been a couple things, that have been sort of, they were ideas before. Now they're just, I think what excites me is when these things become really easy to implement and become part of that day to day, and relatable at that site level and with people, and things like building scanning. I think Matterport software has become huge. I think now with $500 and sort of basic computer literacy, anyone can kind of create these basic sort of 3D models of as-built structures, and then you get into some of the more detailed building scans and that, which are also getting, sort of easier to do. We're on Procore and different platforms like that. So sort of the use of, punch lists, QR codes for deficiencies, and making it to that point where it's accessible to everyone. And, our foremen on site are comfortable with it, and, the trade foremen on site are using it. Like, actually seeing the software work the way it's supposed to function has been really good. I think on that sort of larger, maybe more macro view, the thing I've been thinking about a fair bit lately, and it kind of ties into that modular prefab, but maybe in one further step, is sort of this kit of parts concept that's kind of coming into the industry, where it's basically trying to simplify that installation aspect. And we've seen it out at a couple trade partners in that. It's, gained some traction in electrical, say mechanical, but it's basically, say taking a scope of work, like say it's a, multifamily apartment project, and packaging all of the requirements for a certain scope of work, say it is electrical, into a box, and basically having an instruction manual on how to basically install the parts in that box, and trying to really sort of simplify that process and reduce unknowns. Because, we talk about labor issues or skilled labor shortages, and, needing to put people who haven't spent, 20 years reading drawings and all that into situations where you want them to be productive on site. I think it's really breaking the information down to a really digestible level on the site, so that people can, immediately be productive and just execute. So there's some things like that happening, and that can be applied to a lot of different scopes, mechanical, electrical, concrete work, drywall, all the like. Is sort of, it's kind of some aspects of prefab, some aspects of modular, but it's really about advanced planning and having the experts plan the work and making it very executable for the people on site that may not have that experience level.
Awesome, thank you, Andrew. Any tech that you're using on the modular side that might be helping?
Yeah, we swear by Revit. So Revit and BIM modeling is just, it's key to be able to, put all the different mechanical systems and everything in a layered drawing, and see where those conflicts are going to be, and make sure we change it. And then even especially efficiencies, where you can really take that and then do shop drawings for our guys out on the floor, where it's already planned out for them. They just measure over here, put the sprinkler line here, and they know that the HVAC guy isn't going to come tell him to rip it down an hour later, right? Because it's already pre-planned, right? So that coordination part of it, we use Revit. I think Revit's fantastic. And there's a lot of upfront coordination with it, but once you actually kind of iron out all the bugs on a computer screen and then send it out to the men and women who are actually building it, it becomes a lot more efficient, and a lot more there's a lot less errors, and again, moving things and clashing happening up at ceilings and things like that, when you properly plan for it ahead of time. So that's my big thing with technology here. We've looked at some, different robotics and robotic welding and those kind of things. Not quite there yet, I don't think, at least for our company anyways. But the design and the planning and the coordination that we use Revit for is paramount. Without that, honestly, we'd sink.
I think the error elimination and reduction is massive, right? So yeah,
Make the
cool.
mistakes on the computer screen before it gets out to the field, right?
Yeah, awesome. Taking the technology discussion into AI, Jesse, can I hit you with AI on your radar? What are you using it at your firm, and if so, for what?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, one fairly easy to use application of AI in consulting would be Copilot with the Microsoft 365 platform. And we see everything from there, from permit and policy process compliance monitoring, I guess you'd call it, using AI, producing meeting minutes, producing status reports, producing financial reports, all of that kind of repetitive tasks that you see on construction projects that we're involved with as consultants. Really, the AI applications of that just grow every day, and we've definitely seen the advantage to using that and being more efficient and more productive for our clients. But I would say that you need to be careful, because you still need to have that human touch. It's just like using any kind of design application that you use, say, in structural engineering. You still need to validate what comes out of the machine, that it actually makes sense. And it's the same thing with AI. And AI needs to have proper access to data as well, which is an issue with our clients. Internally at Maven, we can have Copilot or other AI applications have at it with their data. But with other clients, especially large organizations, they need to know where their data is being stored. They need to know that there's certain data they don't want to share. And AI, it learns, right? So it needs to have that as much data as possible to be as productive and give you the best output as possible. So definitely struggling there with kind of the security requirements of using AI on the consulting side, but it's getting better, and there's more and more buy-in and more security coming into it to allow it to be able to be used and approved by some of the larger clients we have.
Awesome. Thank you. Jeff, any thoughts on AI? Are you playing with it at all, or is it something that or I guess in what aspect are you making use of it? Because it does seem like almost everybody's using it in some way, shape, or form right now. It's just how, what kind of sandbox you might be in, right?
Yeah, and similar vein as where Jesse was taking us, early days of AI overall. You just start with that bit of info that, yes, we're exploring testing uses of AI, but I call it in a safe manner, in a kind of trial, walk, run approach to manage our way through some of these risks. Recognizing that the current AI environment is this trust but verify. Kind of Jesse talked about it, it's critical to have accurate and exact information. So always having that need to validate those AI results are important. But we are exploring, Adam, and we're looking at things like generative AI with things like contract management. Ahmad touched on it in his presentation there. But where we can use those electronic set of eyes with programs such as Document Crunch that can help our project teams and our departments standardize contract review, transferring that kind of increased contract compliance, leveraging the AI and machine learning to our teams. If I go to the kind of the GBT side of things, I talked a bit about our applications. So exploring and experimenting where we can leverage support options and functionality support within those models would be another place. Microsoft Copilot, testing ways we can use it within PCL databases to leverage and mine like extensive data, improving our access to that PCL specific knowledge across the company. Kind of are some examples. I think the potential's there for sure where AI could help streamline some of the tasks that take us away from concentrating on what truly matters. And for us, maybe just building on the theme we're going on, the focus of us making us better builders, more productive builders, more efficient at delivering our service for our clients and our partners. And if we can get those streamlined tasks in AI in an appropriate way, maybe there's an opportunity for us to focus more on some of those other aspects. It's kind of awesome. Thoughts on my head on it.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like the tech's not quite ready to eliminate the human factor, I guess, right? So I think that's one of the things that I'm spotting on it anyway. And speaking of human factor, the people make an industry, right? So I'd like to touch on a little bit in the ways that the industry is changing to help attract and retain people. Things like good safety records and programs to support employees, some of the softer side of construction, if you will. But it's important, I think, with regards to attracting the personnel that we need. So I'd like to hear, from the front lines, or much closer to the front lines than where I sit typing away at a computer all day. Dan, do you mind if I pick your brain on the human element of and how I guess the attraction and retention piece of the puzzle is changing or has been changing?
Yeah, I think this ties in a lot with what even what I led off on as far as sort of that literal changing face of the industry, where it's, younger people, more diverse. The roles, I would say, in construction have become more diverse, particularly within construction companies themselves. Technology roles, pre-construction management, learning and development, sort of all these things have become more common. As far as attracting people, I think it's vital to have some of those things we talk about, or, it's almost the sort of table stakes when it comes to safety programs, good benefits, strong reputation. I think what we're finding as far as attracting people, though, is really giving them, good opportunity, whether it's taking on, diverse or exciting projects, or the ability to, work in new technology or leverage technology, continuous improvement initiatives. It's kind of like giving them opportunity to take part in the business and help grow it, I think, is where we really get buy-in. I think people appreciate being involved in initiatives, those types of things, opportunities for training and development. And really, there's big shift towards that environment of, it's okay to fail in a controlled way and sort of letting people, try new things. But coming out of it, we are seeing, I think, construction, when it comes to some of those professional industries, even like engineering, it's becoming a lot more common. I know I came out of university, close to what would have been, 15, 16 years ago, and there was very little sort of pathways into construction. I think now it's being recognized certainly a lot more. The amount of co-ops and those types of opportunities out there are significantly higher. So I think it's part of that need is getting out there and exposing sort of those potential that potential workforce to construction and what it can be, because I think often it's seen as or in the past it was seen as sort of that boots on the ground sort of dirty industry, however you want to put it, or you're covered in mud at the end of the day. But it's really what I see about it is that there's sort of the extent of opportunity and the diversity of what you can get into in a construction environment is actually quite vast. And I think there's a ton of opportunity for people out there in construction compared to a lot of other sectors that come out of those, those streams. So yeah, like I said, I think what it does boil down to really though is providing some opportunity, some excitement, and really challenge, I think, is what most people are looking for.
Perfect. Thank you. And Jesse, I'll go to you on this. What are some of the discussions you got during your Grouse Mountain hikes and all that sort of the interactions that you've got with people in the industry when it comes to finding people?
Yeah, I mentioned early on in the conversation programs like the Builders Code, like anti-hazing and providing safer environments in construction. I know when I first came out, kind of a similar era to Dan, 16, 18 years ago, it was like, just get out there, don't complain, get her done. Like it's not like that anymore. And you can't, microaggressions and hazing and bullying and all that stuff, it's not accepted anymore. Like I don't accept that on any projects we're involved with. And I think it's the table stakes of what people expect to come to work and not have to deal with that anymore. And people will leave. And that's, from a retention standpoint, it's very important. And I would encourage folks that are on the call here to check out Builders Code and check out their pledge as well. We've taken it at Maven and we live by it as well. I'd say there's other things too, like how do you approach Indigenous engagement and policy, looking at things like mental health and support programs within organizations. Career path is a big one. I think one of the panelists mentioned, I can't remember who it was, but there's a big gap, right? And so you come in, it's a fairly young demographic now with some of the boomers up here, and they're retiring every day, and it's like, hey, well, how am I going to be mentored, and what does my career path look like to get me there? Because a lot of people are keen to get into those executive roles, but they also want to be set up to not set up to fail. And so what does the mentoring look like? What does the career path look like? So I think mentorship's a big thing in our industry as well, and I'm happy to see that a lot of organizations, BCCR, BRCA, like we're very supportive with our next generation. And then projects and clients, like people want to work on cool projects, they want to work with good clients. And I think I see it again and again with some of the discussions, like you said, Adam, on the hikes we do on Sunday, that people are firing clients because they're hard to get along with. They're losing people because they're difficult. And I think it's important to be aligned with your clients when it comes to values and the way that you like to work. And a lot of owners are realizing that and working with contractors and with consultants that share the same values and share the same approach to how they work. So there's a lot there, but that would be my answer.
Awesome. Thank you. I think I'd like to kind of wrap up the formal questions with another question around the panel. I'll get all four of you in on this one. And it's kind of building from some of what we've discussed here. A lot of what we're talking about today, it's trying to provide facts to replace assumptions. Assumptions don't help the industry's reputation, I find, and it's one of these things over the years. Like I've been covering construction for probably about 25 years now, and perception always takes a little while after the realities to sink in and come to the fore. So discussions like this about technology are very good and helpful because it gives all of us talking points that we can use, right? And so with that kind of preamble, I'd like to ask, like, if a friend or relative said, my child wants to go into construction, but I'm pushing them to go to university instead, which was kind of always that long-standing, if you're going to university, you're not going into the trades or anything like that. But what would you tell them about the realities of our industry? Are there points that you'd like to raise? I think Dan, you talked a little bit about multiple different ways of getting into construction and that. So I'd like to open across the board here to say, what's the reality of entering this industry of ours nowadays? And I'll start with Jesse. You were just on the microphone, but I'm going right back to you. We'll start with you, and we'll work our way around to all four of you.
Yeah, well, I think this discussion we've had today really highlights that construction, you're not going to get dirty and come home dirty at the end of the day. There's lots of technology, and I think that for folks that I've talked to that have kids that are in high school or starting to think, okay, what do I want to do? I'd actually say that the construction industry doesn't have that reputation with the next generation because of all the cool stuff that's going on with modular building and technology and drones and everything else, AI, that we've talked about today. And I think the other thing that we're doing a good job, but we need to do a better job about, is just talk about the demand that's needed in the market. I think there's some discussions that are upcoming with some construction organizations in the next month or so. We are talking about how are we going to staff projects and how are we going to get people into the industry. So I think we really need to have more discussions like this and really talk about it, but talk about it at like the high school level or even before that. I've got a young daughter at home, and I got her a little, construction book and what dump trucks are and excavators and all that kind of stuff. So I think starting them as young as possible and just talking about, hey, this is a cool industry to be in. And I think that maybe that old school mentality of, oh, you got to go to university or you got to get this or get that. I mean, that's not the case anymore. You can have a very fruitful career in many diverse opportunities and variety of roles that we have in the construction and engineering world.
Awesome. Thank you. Andrew, I haven't had you on the mic in a little bit, so I'm going to put you on the spot for this one as well. What would you say if somebody said, no, I'm sending my kid to university instead of directing them towards construction? Again, doesn't have to be mutually exclusive, but I'd like to hear your take on it.
Yeah. So, I'd really encourage skilled trades. I'm always a skilled trades person. Doesn't mean you need to stay in the trenches, so to speak, forever. I think even as somebody young coming out of high school, I think it would be good to even have a summer job or do a year of work in the field, just so you can kind of experience it and see the different aspects and things, and know what you like and what you don't like and where you want to go and where you don't want to go, right? So from my personal experience, I started actually in a co-op in high school with a cabinet maker, then went to an electrical contractor. Right out of high school, I was framing houses as a residential framer, then went to go work for an ICI contractor. And while I was on that job site, I was just a general laborer or carpenter at the time, and I kind of looked around and noticed, oh, there's equipment operators. I see what they do, and oh, there's the super. Now I can see what he does, and then I get those kind of different feels of those different things. So for just exactly like I said, I mean, I started out in the trenches as a kind of a general laborer type person. Many years went by, and by the time I was 21, I was a superintendent for an industrial contractor. Then went to go work for Ellis Don as a superintendent. Then went to be a project manager. Then I was a construction manager for a little while. So there's a lot of different things that kind of field experience opened up for me and took me, and I got out of the trenches. But at the same time, I might not have gotten to where I wanted to be unless I had experienced that, right? So it's not to say you need to get into the skilled trade and necessarily do a full long apprenticeship, but I think it's good to get out there and see that taste and feel that. And especially, if you've been going to get into engineering or to be an architect or something like that, I really think there's something said about having a little bit of field experience. I know that the main engineer I work with, when I first got talking to him, he's like, oh yeah, because back when I was doing concrete forming, while I was in school doing engineering, he knew a little bit more about it because he had actually done it and held that form and stripped that form and done all those things. At the same time, we keep talking about efficiencies where, you get that taste on site and you can really see, well, that doesn't work very well. Like, we got to find a better way to figure out that problem, and then it gets your wheels turning, right? So, I'm a big pusher to get into the trades, but that doesn't necessarily you need to stay on the site. Whether you get into be a superintendent or a project manager, you get into engineering or into design, all those things. But I think you'd be a lot better off to have that little bit of taste in the field first, and then you can take that into more of a professional role, I guess I'll call it.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I think I'm going to toss the microphone over to somebody who might challenge you for how many titles they've had over their time in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
Dan, I think you've done so many different things with over the course of your career as well. Tackle this one for me, if you don't mind, about directing that next generation and helping perception.
Yeah, I think, that statement we're talking about, sort of wanting to go into construction but want to go to university instead, is, wrong in a few different ways, and sort of figuring out what is that misconception that person has. So one, it's, what Andrew was just touching on. It's basically, maybe first and foremost, I want to say, like, the opportunity in construction, I think, has never been higher as far as that demand, I think, that we've touched on, as far as the ability to progress rapidly in your role and just, to do different things, to, learn quickly and sort of go down whatever path you choose. But yeah, so, as Andrew touched on, like, that career in the trades, there's no real ceiling sort of going that route. It doesn't cap you. It's sort of, I think it's proven, even, staying on the site and working in the trades, it can be, a lot more of a financially rewarding career than many university programs can offer. So, there's certainly nothing wrong with that, but also the fact that it does open, that opportunity. We see individuals from the trades, at all levels of management, ownership, leadership at companies that we deal with. So the ceiling is certainly very high, that route. And then also, the other side of it, going to university, there's a lot of career paths in construction that use a university degree. Our company, we have civil, mechanical, biosystems engineers, we have commerce grads, we have arts degree grads, environmental design grads. That includes some people on the sites too. So, that sort of focus on university trades, I think, what parents should really be focusing on is really ensuring that, their kids have work ethic, instill some sense of hunger, drive, problem solving abilities and ability to communicate. I think those things have actually been the biggest predictor of success for any individual, in their career path. So it's really focusing on that sort of attitude and approach to work, more so than sort of that, whether you go to trade school or university.
Awesome, thank you. And Jeff, I'll complete the baton pass all the way around here to just get your 2 cents on this.
Yeah, and I may be biased, but I think construction is obviously an amazing career for anyone. And in terms of your example, your comments, you've hit on it. Lots of options to go to university and enter into the industry. Additionally, so many other post-secondary opportunities, skilled trades, design, construction management, so many avenues to get involved in this amazing sector. It really leads me to think of at PCL, Andrew mentioned co-op program. Big part of our culture is the co-op program, and really this ability to bridge the gap and showcase the realities of our industry through that program. It's a remarkable option to allow people to really test drive, where we offer students hands-on, meaningful work day one. And it's so ingrained in our culture that all of our employees really look forward to that mentoring opportunity for the students. And it's something that's really special here at PCL. As a former co-op student at PCL myself, definitely felt it that way, and opening the doors to what's possible in this amazing industry. Students, they also bring a fresh perspective when we think of the concept of this seminar, the innovation and contributing. They look at things differently and in new ways and innovative ways, and fresh ways that can help us progress and do things a little different. So maybe I'll end. I would say, to me, construction, it's a career and it's not just a job. So regardless of that stream you choose in the industry, you can have a career of lifelong learning, working in a team environment, in an ultimate team sport, in an industry that continues to evolve and always needs smart, hardworking individuals to build our communities. There's a sense of accomplishment like I don't know in other industries of creating something tangible, a physical legacy built by all this teamwork and collaboration that really I get passionate about. And I would say to the person who would ask me, what's not to get excited about there? Like amazing opportunities for development, amazing opportunities to build amazing legacies. Yeah, a lot to be excited.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. And we've gone a little bit longer than what I anticipated here, so we don't have a lot of time for questions. But number one, thank you, all four of you, for your advice, your candid responses to all of this. It's a lot to kind of digest in one short span here, but definitely appreciate it. I think if you don't mind, I'll indulge everybody. I said we'd have everybody out of here by 3 o'clock Toronto time, so that'll be noon out west. If you don't mind, I'll throw one question out of, we've had a number of them come in while we've been chatting here. And one of them has to do with technology. And I think I'd like to tie it into the challenge, I guess, of technology always being a work in progress. Years ago, I had a columnist that talked about shelfware back when software came in packages, and people would buy it. They'd get all excited about it. It would go on one computer and not all the computers, and then it would be on the boss's shelf behind his desk, almost like a dusty, bad trophy of something that didn't quite work. What are the challenges when it comes to technologies, the try to buy, to implement, and how do you try and focus on making a successful implementation? That's kind of a hybrid of a few questions that have come in, but what sets you on the right foot for technology to be successfully deployed by your companies? And if somebody could throw a hand up on willingness to share on that, I will gladly hand the mic over. Anyone want to try that?
Free to jump in here, sure. I think
Awesome.
one thing jumps to mind for me was with these adoptions is really, starting small and kind of running pilot projects and really working out the bugs and sort of building that champion group around it. Like, you need to have people that are advocates for it within your company. If you try to, just sort of roll something out to everybody all at once, it's gonna, there's gonna be a lot of headaches and there's gonna be a lot of bugs. If you can really start with that small group and, they really and they really buy into that process, then it becomes a lot smoother to roll out, and you kind of have those champions and mentors that can help with that. So that's worked well for us in sort of, larger software type adoptions and, some different process things that we've done in that. We really work out the kinks as much as we can before going live. But also don't underestimate sort of your ability to debug the process, like having some dedicated people there to support that transition, even after it's online, is very key too, to make sure that it works.
Awesome. Thank you. Anybody else? I know PCL's got some tech there. Jeff, any thoughts on what makes for or puts you on the right foot for success with it?
Well, I think that lens I talked about on improving our efficiency or making us better builder, delivering our service, kind of applying that as we're looking at technology. And I like Dan's talking about doing these fast things. So I'll call it sprints to test some of that. Balanced with, I talked about drones, on the surface right away, it didn't seem like it would do much. It was a toy, it would take cool pictures, but really being able to extrapolate the full potential of some of these technologies, because a lot of it, they're complex, they're new, that instant gratification sometimes isn't always there. So it's taking that balanced and measured approach to technology as well, and knowing you can't do it all. You need to apply a level of selectiveness and putting that lens on making us better builders and really getting the most out of the technology that you're in is the balance.
Awesome. Thank you. And I think with that, we'll kind of wrap things up for the for the afternoon. I think we're pretty close to afternoon everywhere now, almost out west. We're getting there. But I definitely would like to thank all of our panelists, Dan, Jeff, Andrew, and Jesse. You've provided us with a lot of food for thought. The insights are great. I love the fact that we've got this 40 under 40 alumni class that we can call on for advice and that. So I appreciate you guys taking the time for this, and hopefully you wear that as a nice badge of honor. It's one of these things. I hear a lot of very good things about the program. I'm so happy that we have it, that we can recognize people like yourselves. And as I said earlier, September issue, we'll have the next 40 joining you. So please, everybody in the audience, if you don't mind keeping an eye out for that. And I encourage myself and all of us to be kind of evangelists for this this construction sector of ours, this industry of ours. And I appreciate you giving us some talking points that we can use for that. So thank you, all four of you, and I look forward to the next conversation with each of you. Thank you.